month, the month of March, our theme has been Freedom in Your Fire. If you tuned in with us last week, you know we went through a lot of information as it relates to fire. And we're coming from Daniel 3. I just want to read for you the text that we'll be dealing with specifically today, which is Daniel 3 verses 19 through 25. And I need to let you know, I'm real excited. I got real excited even during the study of this because of the revelatory knowledge, the things that God revealed in this text. It says, "Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace." The text goes on to say, "Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed the men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, 'Did we not cast 3 men bound in the midst of the fire?' They answered and said, 'True, O king.' 'Look,' he answered, 'I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.'" Last week, we talked about these 3 young men, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, and let's include a 4th one, Daniel, going into Babylonian captivity as prophesied by Jeremiah by King Nebuchadnezzar. Their names were changed to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they were assimilated in the king's court. These are the same young men in Daniel 1 who would not eat from the king's table, and it is the foundation for where we get the 21 Daniel fast, which is fruits and vegetables, juice, and water. These 3 young men told the king, "We won't eat from the king's table, and we can assure you that our God will have us look as good as they look or better after this period of time." And sure enough, the word came true. They would not allow their circumstances to circumvent their worship. They would not allow their destination to determine the magnitude of their faith. And they would not let the threat of death disconnect them from their destiny and from a divine God. Last week, we said we weren't talking about the text from the Hebrew boys. We weren't talking about it from King Nebuchadnezzar, and we weren't even addressing it from the administrators, the counselors, or the magicians in the court. We came last week from the perspective of the burning fiery furnace. What we learned is that it was an instrument of life and death. It was used not only to smelt iron and to cook bread, but the burning fiery furnace was also used to execute people. We need you to know it was used in Babylonian culture. And Babylonian culture has a famous world history. They're responsible for the 360-degree circle. They're responsible for the 60-minute hour. And their astrologers came up with the zodiac signs. It was not the first time the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, had put people in the fire. Jeremiah 28 and 22 indicates 2 false prophets, Zedekiah and Ahab, were burned alive. And we understand that this burning fiery furnace was located in the central area of the city. We walked away last week understanding that God allows your struggles to have an audience. Everyone sees and everyone knows. Why? Because when God brings you out, he wants to make sure that the paparazzi is right on the spot. The second thing we came out of was the illumination of your issues signals it's God's test and not the enemy's action. Fire is considered in this text a light, a lamp. It shines. And so when you go into the fiery furnace, you need to know that you're selected, elected, validated, picked out, chosen for the test. And lastly, we understood that fire is used to clear out weeds and undergrowth to make the land suitable for planting or building. God has spoken your harvest, and the fire is merely preparing you to be an instrument to receive the harvest, to receive the seed, and then to be the instrument of the harvest. But this week, we want to look at something really in particular, And I almost had to run around the house when I saw this. We're looking at the statement 7 times hotter. Can you say that? 7 times hotter.